Welcome to Executive Order Watch.
The immigrants have arrived.
I know. I have the package.
Morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is. I hope you're doing well. You're here with E-Millions, and what we're going to be doing, we're going over the big, beautiful bill, and we're going to have it read out for the most part, so we know every word that was said of. So if you're driving, you can listen to it. If you're walking, you can listen to it. If you're running, I guess you can do that too. If you're driving a big wheel, this is definitely for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. Remember, it's 1,100 pages, so I don't expect you to listen to it all the way through, but at the same time, I expect you to learn.
Rules Committee, Print 19.3. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the One Big Beautiful Bill 2. Section 8. The table of contents of this act is as follows. 5. Sec 1, short title. Table of contents. Title I, Committee on Agriculture. Subtitle A, Nutrition. Sec 10,001, Thrifty Food Plan. Sec 10,002, Able-bodied adults without dependents work requirements. Sec 10,003, Able-bodied adults without dependents waivers. Sec 10,004, Availability of standard utility allowances based on receipt of energy assistance. Sec 10,005, Restrictions on internet expenses. Sec 10,006, Matching funds requirements. Sec 10,007, Administrative cost sharing. Sec 10,008, General work requirement age. Sec 10,009, National accuracy clearinghouse. Sec 10,010, Quality control zero tolerance. Sec 10,011, National education and obesity prevention grant program repealer. Sec 1012, Alien SNAP eligibility. Sec 10,013, Emergency Food Assistance. Subtitle B, Investment in Rural America. Sec 10,101, Safety Net. Sec 10,102, Conservation. Sec 10,103, Supplemental Agricultural Trade Promotion Program. Sec 10-104, Research. Sec 10-105, Secure Rural Schools Forestry. Sec 10,106, Energy. Sec 10,107, Horticulture. Sec 10,108, Miscellaneous. Title II, Committee on Armed Services. Sec 20,001, Enhancement of Department of Defense resources for improving the quality of life for military personnel. Sec 20,002, Enhancement of Department of Defense sources for shipbuilding. Sec 20,003, Enhancement of Department of Defense resources for integrated air and missile defense. Sec 20,004, Enhancement of Department of Defense resources for munitions and defense supply chain resiliency. Sec 20,005, Enhancement of Department of Defense resources for scaling low-cost weapons into production. Sec 20,006, Enhancement of Department of Defense resources for improving the efficiency and cybersecurity of the Department of Defense. Sec 20007, Enhancement of Department of Defense Resources for Air Superiority. Sec 20008, Enhancement of Resources for Nuclear Forces. Sec 20009, Enhancement of Department of Defense Resources to Improve Capabilities of United States Indo-Pacific Command. Sec 20010, Enhancement of Department of Defense Resources for Improving the Readiness of the Armed Forces. Sec 20011, Improving Department of Defense Border Support and Counter-Drug Missions. Sec 20012, Enhancement of Military Intelligence Programs. Sec 20013, Department of Defense Oversight. Sec 20014, Military Construction Projects Authorized. Sec 20015, Plan Required. Sec 20016, Limitation on Availability of Funds. Title III, Committee on Education and Workforce. Subtitle A, Student Eligibility. Sec 30001, Student Eligibility. Sec 30002, Amount of Need, Cost of Attendance, Median Cost of College. Subtitle B, Loan Limits. Sec 30011, Loan Limits. Subtitle C, Loan Repayment. Sec 30021, Loan Repayment. Sec 30022, Deferment, Forbearance. Sec 30023, Loan Rehabilitation. Sec 30024, Public Service Loan Forgiveness. Sec 30025, Student Loan Servicing. Subtitla de Paygans. Sec 30031, Eligibility. Sec 30032, Workforce Pell Grants. Sec 30033, Pell Shortfall. Subtitle E, Accountability. Sec 30041, Agreements with Institutions. Sec 30042, Campus-Based Aid Programs. Subtitle F, Regulatory Relief. Sec 30051, Regulatory Relief. Subtitle G, Limitation on Authority. Sec 30061, Limitation on Authority of the Secretary propose or issue regulations and executive actions. Title IV, Energy and Commerce. Subtitle A, Energy. Sec 41001, Rescissions relating to certain Inflation Reduction Act programs. Sec 41002, Natural Gas Exports and Imports. Sec 41003, Funding for Department of Energy Loan Guarantee Expenses. Sec 41004, Expedited Permitting. Sec 41005, De-risking Compensation Program. Sec 41006, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Subtitle B, Environment. Sec 42101, Repeal and rescission relating to clean heavy-duty vehicles. Sec 42102, Repeal and rescission relating to grants to reduce air pollution at ports. Sec 42103, Repeal and rescission relating to Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. Sec 42104, Repeal and rescission relating to diesel emissions reductions. Sec 42105, Repeal and rescission relating to funding to address air pollution. Sec 42106, Repeal and rescission relating to funding to address air pollution at schools. Sec 42107, Repeal and rescission relating to low emissions electricity program. Sec 42108, Repeal and rescission relating to funding for Section 211 of the Clean Air Act. Sec 42109, Repeal and rescission relating to funding for implementation of the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act. Sec 42110, Repeal and rescission relating to funding for enforcement technology and public information. Sec. 42,111. Repeal and rescission relating to greenhouse gas corporate reporting. Sec. 42,112. Repeal and rescission relating to environmental product declaration assistance. Sec. 42,113. Repeal of funding for methane emissions and waste reduction incentive program for petroleum and natural gas systems. Sec. 42,114. Repeal and rescission relating to greenhouse gas air pollution plans and implementation grants. Sec. 42,115. Repeal and rescission relating to Environmental Protection Agency efficient, accurate, and timely reviews. Sec. 42,116. Repeal and rescission relating to low-embodied carbon labeling for construction materials. Sec. 42,117. Repeal and rescission relating to environmental and climate justice block grants. B2 TGS. Sec. 42,201. Repeal of EPA rules relating to greenhouse gas and multi-pollutant emission standards. PRNEC. Sec. 42,301. Repeal of NHTSA rules relating to CAF standards. Subtitle C. Communications. Sec. 43,101. Identification and auction of spectrum. P2A. Intelligence and ITM. Sec. 43,201. Artificial Intelligence and Information Technology Modernization Initiative. Subtitle D. Health. Part 1. Reducing fraud and improving enrollment processes. Sec. 44,101. Moratorium on implementation of rule relating to eligibility and enrollment in Medicare savings programs. Sec. 44,102. Moratorium on implementation of rule relating to eligibility and enrollment for Medicaid CHIP and the Basic Health Program. Sec. 44,103. Ensuring appropriate address verification under the Medicaid and CHIP programs. Sec. 44,104. Modifying certain state requirements for ensuring deceased individuals do not remain enrolled. Sec. 44,105. Medicaid provider screening requirements. Sec. 44,106. Additional Medicaid provider screening requirements. Sec. 44,107. Removing good faith waiver for payment reduction related to certain erroneous excess payments under Medicaid. Sec. 44,108. Increasing frequency of eligibility redeterminations for certain individuals. Sec. 44,109. Revising home equity limit for determining eligibility for long-term care services under the Medicaid program. Sec. 44,110. Prohibiting federal financial participation under Medicaid and CHIP for individuals without verified citizenship, nationality, or satisfactory immigration status. Sec. 44,111. Reducing expansion FMAP for certain states providing payments for health care furnished to certain individuals. Preventing wasteful spending. Sec. 44,121. Moratorium on implementation of rule relating to staffing standards for long-term care facilities under the Medicare and Medicaid programs. Sec. 44,122. Modifying retroactive coverage under the Medicaid and CHIP programs. Sec. 44,123. Ensuring accurate payments to pharmacies under Medicaid. Sec. 44,124. Preventing the use of abusive spread pricing in Medicaid. Sec. 44,125. Prohibiting federal Medicaid and CHIP funding for gender transition procedures for minors. Sec. 44,126. Federal payments to prohibited entities. Stopping abusive financing practices. Sec. 44,131. Sunsetting eligibility for increased FMAP for new expansion states. Sec. 44,132. Moratorium on new or increased provider taxes. Sec. 44,133. Revising the payment limit for certain state-directed payments. Sec. 44,134. Requirements regarding waiver of uniform tax requirement for Medicaid provider tax. Sec. 44,135. Requiring budget neutrality for Medicaid demonstration projects under Section 1115. Increasing personal accountability. Sec. 44,141. Requirement for states to establish Medicaid community engagement requirements for certain individuals. Sec. 44,142. Modifying cost-sharing requirements for certain expansion individuals under the Medicaid program. Sec. 44,201. Addressing waste, fraud, and abuse in the ACA exchanges. Sec. 44,301. Expanding and clarifying the exclusion for orphan drugs under the Drug Price Negotiation Program. Sec. 44,302. Streamlined enrollment process for eligible out-of-state providers under Medicaid and CHIP. Sec. 44,303. Delaying DSH reductions. Sec. 44,304. Modifying update to the conversion factor under the physician fee schedule under the Medicare program. Sec. 44,305. Modernizing and ensuring PBM accountability. Title V, Committee on Financial Services. Sec. 50,001. Green and Resilient Retrofit Program for Multifamily Family Housing. Sec. 50,002. Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. Sec. 50,003. Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. Sec. 50,004. Consumer Financial Civil Penalty Fund. Sec. 50,005. Financial Research Fund. Title Site Committee on Homeland Security. Sec. 60,001. Border Barrier System Construction, Invasive Species, and Border Security Facilities Improvements. Sec. 60,002. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Personnel and Fleet Vehicles. 60,003. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Technology, Vetting Activities, and Other Efforts to Enhance Border Security. Sec. 60,004. State and Local Law Enforcement Presidential Residence Protection. Sec. 60,005. State Homeland Security Grant Program. Title VC, Committee on the Judiciary. Subtitle A, Immigration Matters. Part YF. Sec. 70,001. Applicability of the immigration laws. Sec. 70,002. Asylum fee. Sec. 70,003. Employment authorization document fees. Sec. 70,004. Parole fee. Sec. 70,005. Special immigrant juvenile fee. Sec. 70,006. Temporary protected status fee. Sec. 70,007. Unaccompanied alien child sponsor fee. Sec. 70,008. Visa integrity fee. Sec. 70,009. Form I-94 fee. Sec. 70,010. Yearly asylum fee. Sec. 70,011. Fee for continuances granted in immigration court proceedings. Sec. 70,012. Fee relating to renewal and extension of employment authorization for parolees. Sec. 70,013. Fee relating to termination, renewal, and extension of employment authorization for asylum applicants. Sec. 70,014. Fee relating to renewal and extension of employment authorization for aliens granted temporary protected status. Sec 70,015. Diversity immigrant visa fees. Sec 70,016 EOIR fees. Sec 70,017 ESTA fee. Sec 70,018 immigration user fees. Sec 70,019 EVIS fee. Sec 70,020 fee for sponsor of unaccompanied alien child who fails to appear in immigration court. Sec 70,021 fee for aliens ordered removed in absentia. Sec 70,022 Customs and Border Protection inadmissible alien apprehension fee. Sec 70,023 Amendment to authority to apply for asylum. B2 of Sec 70,100 Executive Office for Immigration Review. Sec 70,101 Adult Alien Detention Capacity in Family Residential Centers. Sec 70,102 Retention and signing bonuses for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel. 70,103 Hiring of additional U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel. Sec 70,104 U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement hiring capability. Sec 70,105 Transportation and removal operations. Sec 70,106 Information technology investments. Sec 70,107 Facilities upgrades. Sec 70,108 Fleet modernization. Sec 70,109 Promoting family unity. Sec 70,110 Funding Section 287 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Sec 70,111 Compensation for incarceration of criminal aliens. Sec 70,112 Office of the Principal Legal Advisor. Sec 70,113 Return of aliens arriving from contiguous territory. Sec 70,114 State and local participation in Homeland Security efforts. Sec 70,115 Unaccompanied alien children capacity. Sec 70,116 Department of Homeland Security checks for unaccompanied alien children. Sec 70,117 Department of Health and Human Services checks for unaccompanied alien children. Sec 70,118 Information about sponsors and adult residents of sponsor households. Sec 70,119 Repatriation of unaccompanied alien children. Sec 70,120 United States Secret Service. Sec 70,121 Combating drug trafficking and illegal drug use. Sec 70,122 Investigating and prosecuting immigration-related matters. Sec 70,123 Expedited removal for criminal aliens. Sec 70,124 Removal of certain criminal aliens without further hearing. Subtitle B Regulatory matters. Sec 70,200 Review of agency rulemaking. Subtitle C Other matters. Sec 70,300 Limitation on donations made pursuant to settlement agreements to which the United States is a party. Sec 70,301 Solicitation of orders defined. Sec 70,302 Restriction on enforcement. Title V Committee on Natural Resources. Subtitle A Energy and Mineral Resources. Sec 80,101 Onshore oil and gas lease sales. Sec 80,102 Non-competitive leasing. Sec 80,103, permit fees. Sec 80,104, permitting fee for non-federal land. Sec 80,001, reinstate reasonable royalty rates. 2. Sec 80,111, geothermal leasing. Sec 80,112, geothermal royalties. P3. Sec 80,121, coastal plain oil and gas leasing. Sec 80,122, National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska. Part 4. Sec 80,131, Superior National Forest lands in Minnesota. Sec 80,132, Ambler Road in Alaska. Sec 80,141, coal leasing. Sec 80,142, future coal leasing. Sec 80,143, coal royalty. Sec 80,144, authorization to mine federal minerals. Yes. Sec 80,151, project sponsor opt-in fees for environmental reviews. Sec 80,152, rescission relating to environmental and climate data collection. P7. Sec 80,161, protest fees. P8 OG leasing. Sec 80,171, mandatory offshore oil and gas lease sales. Sec 80,172, offshore commingling. Sec 80,173, limitations on amount of distributed qualified outer continental shelf revenues. Sec 80,181, renewable energy fees on federal lands. Sec 80,182, renewable energy revenue sharing. Title B, water, wildlife, and fisheries. Sec 80,201, rescission of funds for investing in coastal communities and climate resilience. Sec 80,202, rescission of funds for facilities of National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and National Marine Sanctuaries. Sec 80,203, surface water storage enhancement. Sec 80,204, water conveyance enhancement. Subtitle C, federal lands. Sec 80,301, prohibition on the implementation of the Rock Springs Field of Ice, Wyoming Resource Management Plan. Sec 80,302, prohibition on the implementation of the Buffalo Field Office, Wyoming Resource Management Plan. Sec 80,303, prohibition on the implementation of the Miles City Field Office, Montana Resource Management Plan. Sec 80,304, prohibition on the implementation of the North Dakota Resource Management Plan. Sec 80,305, prohibition on the implementation of the Colorado River Valley Field Office and Grand Junction Field Office Resource Management Plans. Sec 80,306, rescission of Forest Service funds. Sec 80,307, rescission of National Park Service and Bureau of Land Management funds. Sec 80,308, rescission of Bureau of Land Management and National Park Service funds. Sec 80,309, rescission of National Park Service funds. Sec 80,310, celebrating America's 250th anniversary. Sec 80,311, long-term contracts for the Forest Service. Sec 80,312, long-term contracts for the Bureau of Land Management. Sec 80,313, timber production for the Forest Service. Sec 80,314, Timber production for the Bureau of Land Management. Sec 80,315. Bureau of Land Management, land in Nevada. Sec 80,316. Forest Service land in Nevada. Sec 80,317. Federal land in Utah. Title IX, Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Sec 90,001. Elimination of the FERS annuity supplement for certain employees. Sec 90,002. High 5 average pay for calculating CSRS and FERS pension. Sec 90,003. Election for at-will employment and lower FERS contributions for new federal civil service hires. Sec 90,004. Filing fee for Merit Systems Protection Board claims and appeals. Sec 90,005. FEAP protection. Title X, Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Sec 100,001. Coast Guard assets necessary to secure the maritime border and interdict migrants and drugs. Sec 100,002. Vessel tonnage duties. Sec 100,003. Registration fee on motor vehicles. Sec 100,004. Deposit of registration fee on motor vehicles. Sec 100,005. Motor carrier data. Sec 100,006. IRA rescission. Sec 100,007. Air traffic control staffing and modernization. Sec 100,008. John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Title SASC, Committee on Ways and Means, the One Big Beautiful Bill. Sec 110,000, references to the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, etc. Subtitle A, Make American Families and Workers Thrive Again. BA. Sec 110,001, Extension of Modification of Rates. Sec 110,002, Extension of Increased Standard Deduction and Temporary Enhancement. Sec 110,003, Termination of Deduction for Personal Exemptions. Sec 110,004, Extension of Increased Child Tax Credit and Temporary Enhancement. Sec 110,005, Extension of Deduction for Qualified Business Income and Permanent Enhancement. Sec 110,006, Extension of Increased Estate and Gift Tax Exemption Amounts and Permanent Enhancement. Sec 110,007, Extension of Increased Alternative Minimum Tax Exemption and Phase-Out Thresholds. Sec 110,008, Extension of Limitation on Deduction for Qualified Residence Interest. Sec 110,009, Extension of Limitation on Casualty Loss Deduction. Sec 110,010, Termination of Miscellaneous Itemized Deduction. Sec 110,011, Limitation on Tax Benefit of Itemized Deductions. Sec 110,012, Termination of Qualified Bicycle Commuting Reimbursement Exclusion. Sec 110,013, Extension of Limitation on Exclusion and Deduction for Moving Expenses. Sec 110,014, Extension of Limitation on Wagering Losses. Sec 110,015, Extension of Increased Limitation on Contributions to Able AC Counts and Permanent Enhancement. Sec 110,016, Extension of Sec 110,017, Extension of Rollovers from Qualified Tuition Programs to Able Accounts Permitted. Sec 110,018, Extension of Treatment of Certain Individuals Performing Services in the Sinai Peninsula, and enhancement to include additional areas. Sec 110,019, Extension of Exclusion from Gross Income of Student Loans discharged on account of death or disability. Sec 110,101, no tax on tips. Sec 110,102, no tax on overtime. Sec 110,103, enhanced deduction for seniors. Sec 110,104, no tax on car loan interest. Sec 110,105, enhancement of employer-provided child care credit. Sec 110,106, extension and enhancement of paid family and medical leave credit. Sec 110,107, enhancement of adoption credit. Sec 110,108, recognizing Indian tribal governments for purposes of determining whether a child has special needs for purposes of the adoption credit. Sec 110,109, scholarship granting organizations. Sec 110,110, additional elementary, secondary, and homeschool expenses treated as qualified higher education expenses for purposes of 529 accounts. Sec 110,111, certain post-secondary credentialing expenses treated as qualified higher education expenses for purposes of 529 accounts. Sec 110,112, reinstatement of partial deduction for charitable contributions of individuals who do not elect to itemize. Sec 110,113, exclusion for certain employer payments of student loans under educational assistance programs made permanent and adjusted for inflation. Sec 110,114, extension of rules for treatment of certain disaster-related personal casualty losses. Sec 110,115, MAGA accounts. Sec 110,116, MAGA accounts contribution pilot program. Sec 110,201, treatment of health reimbursement arrangements integrated with individual market coverage. Sec 110,202, participants in choice arrangement eligible purchase of exchange insurance under cafeteria plan. Sec 110,203, employer credit for choice arrangement. Sec 110,204, individuals entitled to Part A of Medicare by reason of age allowed to contribute to health savings accounts. Sec 110,205, treatment of direct primary care service arrangements. Sec 110,206, allowance of bronze and catastrophic plans in connection with health savings accounts. Sec 110,207, on-site employee clinics. Sec 110,208, certain amounts paid for physical activity, fitness, and exercise treated as amounts paid for medical care. Sec 110,209, allow both spouses to make catch-up contributions to the same health savings account. Sec 110,210, FSA and HRA terminations or conversions to fund HAs. Sec 110,211, special rule for certain medical expenses incurred before establishment of health savings account. Sec 110,212, contributions permitted if spouse has health flexible spending or arrangement. Sec 110,213, increase in health savings account contribution limitation for certain individuals. Sec 110,214, regulations. Subtitle B, Make Rural America and Main Street Grow Again. Eat CJR. Sec 111,001, extension of special depreciation allowance for certain property. Sec 111,002, deduction of domestic research and experimental expenditures. Sec 111,003, modified calculation of adjusted taxable income for purposes of business interest deduction. Sec 111,004, Extension of deduction for foreign-derived intangible income and global intangible low-taxed income. Sec. 111,005. Extension of base erosion minimum tax amount. Sec. 111,006. Exception to denial of deduction for business meals. Sec. 111,101. Special depreciation allowance for qualified production property. Sec. 111,102. Renewal and enhancement of opportunity zones. Sec. 111,103. Increased dollar limitations for expensing of certain depreciable business assets. Sec. 111,104. Repeal of revision to de minimis rules for third-party network transactions. Sec. 111,105. Increase in threshold for requiring information reporting with respect to certain payees. Sec. 111,106. Repeal of excise tax on indoor tanning services. Sec. 111,107. Exclusion of interest on loans secured by rural or agricultural real property. Sec. 111,108. Treatment of certain qualified sound recording productions. Sec. 111,109. Modifications to low-income housing credit. Sec. 111,110. Increased gross receipts threshold for small manufacturing businesses. Sec. 111,111. Global intangible low-tax income determined without regard to certain income derived from services performed in the Virgin Islands. Sec. 111,112. Extension and modification of clean fuel production credit. Sec. 111,113. Restoration of taxable REIT subsidiary asset test. P3 investing in the AM. Sec. 111,201. Expanding the definition of rural emergency hospital under the Medicare program. Subtitle C. Make America Win Again. C1. Sec. 112,001. Termination of previously owned clean vehicle credit. Sec. 112,002. Termination of clean vehicle credit. Sec. 112,003. Termination of qualified commercial clean vehicles credit. Sec. 112,004. Termination of alternative fuel vehicle refueling property credit. Sec. 112,005. Termination of energy efficient home improvement credit. Sec. 112,006. Termination of residential clean energy credit. Sec. 112,007. Termination of new energy efficient home credit. Sec. 112,008. Phase out and restrictions on clean electricity production credit. Sec. 112,009. Phase out and restrictions on clean electricity investment credit. Sec. 112,010. Repeal of transferability of clean fuel production credit. Sec. 112,011. Restrictions on carbon oxide sequestration credit. Sec. 112,012. Phase out and restrictions on zero-emission nuclear power production credit. Sec. 112,013. Termination of clean hydrogen production credit. Sec. 112,014. Phase out and restrictions on advanced manufacturing production credit. Sec. 112,015. Phase out of credit for certain energy property. Sec. 112,016. Income from hydrogen storage, carbon capture added to qualifying income of certain publicly traded partnerships treated as corporations. Sec. 112,017. Limitation on amortization of certain franchises. Sec. 112,018. Limitation on individual deductions for certain state and local taxes at Sec. 112019. excessive employee remuneration from controlled group members and allocation of deduction. Sec. 112,020. Expanding application of tax on excess compensation within tax-exempt organizations. Sec. 112,021. Modification of excise tax on investment income of certain private colleges and universities. Sec. 112,022. Increase in rate of tax on net investment income of certain private foundations. Sec. 112,023. Certain purchases of employee-owned stock disregarded for purposes of foundation tax on excess business holdings. Sec. 112,024. Unrelated business taxable income increased by amount of certain fringe benefit expenses for which deduction is disallowed. Sec. 112,025. Exclusion of research income limited to publicly available research. Sec. 112,026. Limitation on excess business losses of non-corporate taxpayers. Sec. 112,027. 1% floor on deduction of charitable contributions made by corporations. Sec. 112,028. Enforcement of remedies against unfair foreign taxes. Sec. 112,029. Reduction of excise tax on firearm silencers. Sec. 112,030. Modifications to de minimis entry privilege for commercial shipment. Sec. 112,031. Limitation on drawback of taxes paid with respect to substituted merchandise. Illegal. Sec. 112,101. Permitting premium tax credit only for certain individuals. Sec. 112,102. Disallowing premium tax credit during periods of Medicaid ineligibility due to alien status. Sec. 112,103. Limiting Medicare coverage of certain individuals. Sec. 112,104. Excise tax on remittance transfers. Sec. 112,105. Social Security number requirement for American Opportunity and Lifetime Learning Credits. B3 read for other day. Sec. 112,201. Requiring exchange verification of eligibility for health plan. Sec. 112,202. Disallowing premium tax credit in case of certain coverage on rolled in during special enrollment period. Sec. 112,203. Eliminating limitation on recapture of advance payment of premium tax credit. 13. Sec. 112,204. Implementing artificial intelligence tools for purposes of reducing and recouping improper payments under Medicare. Sec. 112,205. Enforcement provisions with respect to COVID-related employee retention credits. Sec. 112,206. Earned income tax credit reforms. Sec. 112,207. Task Force on the Termination of Direct File. Sec. 112,208. Increase in penalties for unauthorized disclosures of taxpayer information. Sec. 112,209. Restriction on regulation of contingency fees with respect to tax returns, etc. Subtitle D. Increase in debt limit. Sec. 113,001. Modification of limitation on the public debt. Thai Committee on 1 Agriculture 2 Subtitle A Nutrition 3. SEC 10,001 Thrifty Food Plan. Section 3 of the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008-5 is amended to read as follows. 6. Thrifty Food Plan means the diet required 7 to feed a family of 4 persons, consisting of a man and an 8 woman 20 through 50, a child 6 through 8, and a child 9. 9 through 11 years of age, based on relevant market best 10 kets that shall only be changed pursuant to paragraph. The cost of such diet shall be the basis for uniform allot 12 mens for all households regardless of their actual COM13 position. The Secretary shall only adjust the cost of the 14 diet as specified in paragraphs and 15. HA. The Secretary 16 shall make household size adjustments based on the full 17 lowing ratios of household size as a percentage of the max 18 among person allotment 19. 14. For a one-person household, 30%. For a two-person household, 55%. For a three-person household, 79%. For a four-person household, 100%. For a five-person household, 119%. For a six-person household, 143%. For a seven-person household, 158%. For an eight-person household, 180%. For a nine-person household, 203%. For a 10-person household, 224%. For households with more than 10 persons, such adjustment for each additional person shall be 224%, plus the product of 21%, and the difference in the number of persons in the household and 10. Reevaluation of market baskets. E. Not earlier than October 1st, 2028, and at not more frequently than 5-year intervals thereafter, the Secretary may reevaluate the market baskets of the Thrifty Food Plan taking into consideration current food prices, food composition data, consumption patterns, and dietary guidance. Prior to any update of the market baskets of the Thrifty Food Plan based on a reevaluation pursuant to subparagraph, the methodology and results of any such revelation shall be published in the Federal Register with an opportunity for comment of not less than 60 days. The Secretary shall not increase the cost of the Thrifty Food Plan based on a reevaluation or update under this paragraph. Allowable cost adjustments. On October 1st, immediately following the effective date of this paragraph, and on each October 1st thereafter, the Secretary shall adjust the cost of the Thrifty Food Plan to reflect changes in the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics of the Department of Labor for the most recent 12-month period ending in June. Make cost adjustments in the Thrifty Food Plan for an urban and rural parts of Hawaii and urban and rural parts of Alaska to reflect the cost of food in urban and rural Hawaii and urban and rural Alaska, provided such cost adjustment shall not exceed the rate of increase. 16. Described in the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics of the Department of Labor for the most recent 12-month period ending in June. Make cost adjustments in the separate Thrifty Food Plans for Guam and the Virgin Islands of the United States to reflect the cost of food in those states, but not to exceed the cost of food in the 50 states and the District of Columbia, provided that such cost adjustment shall not exceed the rate of increase described in the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics of the Department of Labor for the most recent 12-month period ending in June. SESI 10,002. Able-bodied adults without dependence work requirements. Section 6 of the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 is amended to read as follows. E. Paragraph shall not apply to an individual if the individual is under 18 or over 65 years of age. 70. Medically certified as physically or one mentally unfit for employment. 2. A parent or other member of a house. 3. Hold with responsibility for a dependent child. 4. Under 7 years of age. 5. Otherwise exempt under subsection 6. 7. Trade. Currently homeless, 9. Veteran. 24 years of age or younger, and was 11 in foster care under the responsibility of a state 12 on the date of attaining 18 years of age, or such 13 higher age as the state has elected under Sec 14 Chen 475 of the Social Security Act 15, or 16. Responsible for a dependent child 17 years of age or older, and is married to, and re-18 sides with, an individual who is in compliance 19 with the requirements of paragraph 20. The exceptions since in Supra 21 graphs through shall cease to have effect on Octo 22 per 1, 2030. 23. IN General. On the request of a state agency and with the support of the Chief Executive Officer of the state, the Secretary may waive the applicability of paragraph for not more than 12 consecutive months to any group of individuals in the state if the Secretary makes a determination that the county or county equivalent in which the individuals reside has an unemployment rate of over 10%, and in paragraph by striking 8% and inserting 1%. 19. Amended by inserting with an elderly or disabled member after households. See on forming amendments. Section 2605 of the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Act is amended by inserting received by a household with an elderly or disabled member before consistent with Section 5. TEAP, Section 5 of the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 is amended. In subparagraph by inserting without an elderly or disabled member after household the first place it appears, and in subparagraph by inserting with an elderly or disabled member after household the first place it appears. CC 10005, Restrictions on Internet Expenses. Section 5 of the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 is amended by adding at the end the following. R. Restrictions on Internet X. Service fees associated with Internet connection, including, but not limited to, monthly subscriber fees, i.e., the base rate paid by the household each month in order to receive service, which may include high-speed Internet. 1. Taxes and fees charged to the household by the 2 provider that recur on regular bills. The cost of 3 modem rentals, and fees charged by the Pro 4 provider for initial installation. Shall not be used in 5. Computing the excess shelter expense to deduction. SC 10006, Matching Funds Requirements. IG, Section 4 of the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 is amended by striking subject to and inserting the following. Subject to. By adding at the end the following. Federal share. Subject to subparagraph, the federal share of the cost of allotments described in paragraph in a fiscal year shall be for each of fiscal years 2026 and 2027, 100%, and for fiscal year 2028 and each fiscal year thereafter, 95%.
Welcome to Executive Order Watch.
The immigrants have arrived.
I know. I have the package.